Let's write a book. My name is Ava, and welcome to yet another writing vlog of me documenting the process of writing the first draft of Project Magnolia. If you're new here, welcome. I have been documenting the process of working on this book since the very beginning brainstorming phases back in June. I have now been working on the first draft for a month. I wrote the first 30,000 words in the month of July, and now it is August, and we are 8 days into the month, and I still have not written a single word. My journey so far with this book has been pretty inconsistent. I think that's the number one word I would use to describe it. My progress has been all over the place. I've been going days without writing, then a week of writing 2,000 words every day. I don't really know how to feel about the fact that my writing has been so inconsistent, because in the past, when I worked on stuff, I've been a pretty consistent writer. I have always been pretty good at being able to write every single day, but with this project, it seems as if I can either not write anything or go through these really intense couple of days where I write a ton. I am looking to change that this month, so my focus for today is to, number one, actually write some words. Number two, figure out what is going to happen next. Because in my last writing vlog, at the end of that video, I talked about the fact that I am now reaching a point in my project where I have much less of a detailed outline. And I said that the next step I needed to take was to sit down, take a minute, not focus on writing a ton of new stuff, but just focus on figuring out where the story's going. So that's what we're going to try to do today. I think one of the reasons why I've gone a full week without writing is because I know that I need to sit down and figure things out, and it's just a very daunting task, especially when I feel like for the first 30,000 words of this project, I've been on such a roll. I feel so confident with what I've done. I feel so confident about the story, about every chapter. Like, every chapter is exactly how I wanted it to go. In another writing vlog, I talked about plotting this draft and how I had the first couple of chapters really mapped out, and I felt really confident with the direction I was going in with the story. Now I feel like I am running out of steam. I'm losing that sense of direction, and I just need to try to get that back. And if you're curious about what the project is actually about, I will get to that in a future clip. For now, I'm going to sit down and just take a minute to look at my Scrivener document and stare at words until I see if I can figure out what I want to write next. Okay, so I'm looking at my Scrivener stats, and it says that currently, if this was a paperback book, we would be 86 pages in, and that it would take almost exactly, 2 hours and 22 seconds to read the whole thing. Because currently I'm debating if I need to just do an entire read-through of everything that I've done so far in this draft, the first 30,000 words, just to reacquaint myself with everything, even though it really hasn't been that long. It's been a week since I worked on this. In the drafting phase, I've never been one to really like to revisit my work. I never went back and read my older previous chapters. I wouldn't edit anything. I would literally write the chapter and then never look at it again, which this draft has been a bit different. I have been, for pretty much every single writing session, I've been sitting down and then reading like the stuff that I wrote the day before, and then tweaking things, often adding like about 300 words or so, and then getting into writing new stuff. That's been my routine for pretty much every writing session, but I think I'm gonna try to do a read through. I can at least just start doing it and see how I like it, and see if I feel like I'm gaining value from doing that. I think I'll just put a rule on myself that I can't add anything, I can't touch it at all. I will just purely be doing a read through of everything, and that I will be like mostly skimming it. I won't be doing like a full, because I don't want it to take 2 hours. I know that's just an estimate that Scrivener's giving me, but I think maybe that's what I need to do right now to re-immerse myself in this project and really get the ball rolling as I try to figure out what chapters are going to come next, because right now I don't have anything planned out really for the next few chapters. I know I have an idea of chapters that happen closer to the end, but we're heading into the real middle portion of the story, and I need to figure out what I want to happen. It is now quite a bit later. I have accomplished doing an entire read through of my first 30,000 words. It took me roughly an hour, although I did get distracted a fair bit by stopping to think about title ideas for a solid 15 minutes of that hour, probably. I was definitely skimming a lot of it, especially because everything I was reading is stuff that I've written in the last month or so. So all of it is still very familiar to me. I do think that that was a good idea for me to do that because a little bit after I finished, I was sitting there just turning things over in my head. And then I started having some new ideas for what could happen in the remainder of the story. And these were some pretty big, pretty major ideas. And then I had to go eat dinner, and now we're here. And I am now about to sit down and really consider those little ideas that I had that could serve as the foundation for everything that is going to happen between the point I'm at now and the end of this book. This new idea would be big enough to completely, I don't want to say derail all the plans that I currently have for the rest of the story, but I think it would mean that some of these chapters or scenes that I currently have sort of planned out for the rest of this book, I think that some of them could get moved earlier in the story, but I think I'm okay with that. I mean, like I said, I need to like sit here and really think things through and just figure things out, but I was feeling like I didn't know how to fill all of the blank space between where I'm at now and where I wanted to get to. I knew that we couldn't jump straight there. I knew that there had to be stuff in between. But now, if there is this other thing that happens after some of those events that I had planned out, or in between, whatever, if I add those things into the mix, then I can take all these things that I thought were going to happen near the very end of the book and move everything forward. And then this new idea that I have is more relevant for what could happen in the actual ending final 25% of the book. I was doing all of my work on my laptop sitting on my bed, and I was sitting there with my Scrivener document open with my chapter by chapter outline in front of me. And I was like, okay, I need to get my physical notebook. I need to put pen to paper. I need to just make the messiest plot diagram, write everything out by hand, and just fully think this through and consider if this is really what I want to add into my story, because it's a pretty major addition, but I think that it can make the themes of the story even stronger. And I'm really not trying to tease you too much, but this story is a horror story. I'm tentatively calling it a literary horror story. The important thing to know is that it does have ghosts, it has a haunted hotel, but this new element that I'm considering adding would add an element of, there's already an element of like realistic human horror in addition to the supernatural horror, but adding this new element would just reinforce the coexistence of the supernatural horrors of the hotel combined with the real life horrors that happen inside hotels. I already feel like that might be giving away too much, so I am going to put pen to paper, and then we're going to see what I can sort out, and we're going to see if I can actually also write some words today, because I know I said that that's what I wanted to do, but right now the last thing I want to do is actually start drafting, because I feel like my mind is so caught up in the like outlining phase. I am going to be going to bed shortly. I did not end up writing any words, but I did end up putting pen to paper. You can see my messy little plot diagram. I don't think there's any better feeling in the world than just drawing out a chaotic plot structure on a piece of paper and cramming in as much text as you can to every little plot point. I don't really know how I'm feeling right now about this new plot development. I have been working on my chapter by chapter outline on Scrivener, I do now have chapters plotted out until like where I'm at now until the very end. And there's enough there that like theoretically, like if I wrote every single one of those chapters, like it would be a whole book. Although I know that I'm going to end up probably adding in some more stuff. Like it feels like it's lacking a bit of substance, but the broad strokes are all there. I think really I just need to go to sleep right now and continue to think about this new idea that I came up with today because it really is a major new idea. And then I think tomorrow in the morning, before I go to work, I'm going to try to do an actual writing session because I do know what I want my next chapter to be. It's going to be a chapter in the past timeline, and I want to reveal some critical information about the past that I thought was going to get revealed a lot later in the story, but I think that actually, with what I've planned out today, I think that this piece of information needs to get revealed now. Anyways, I'm gonna go to bed. I'm gonna shower actually, and I'll probably come up with some things in the shower, knowing me. It is now actually 2 days later. I decided to film right here so that you could get my cat sleeping in the background. I woke up yesterday with every intention of updating you. I did, in fact, film an update. And then I did do some writing. I had a little mini writing session, and I didn't quite have enough time really to give a proper update and actually talk through what I was working on before I had to leave the house. Today, I had the day off. It's mid afternoon. I haven't done much today. I did go to the bank and to the library, which are two things I've been putting off for the past week or so. I haven't done any writing. I've just been kind of appreciating my day off. Since my writing session yesterday was a little bit rushed, I do think that I want to try and take advantage of the fact that I have the rest of the afternoon free today. I am busy in the evening. It is my friend's 19th birthday, so we are going to be going out tonight. But before that, I would love to get some writing done. Yesterday, instead of starting the chapter I was talking about in the past timeline, I actually just reread the first 400-ish words that I had already for what I thought was going to be the next chapter. It's now going to be the one that comes after that one chapter in the past timeline. I revisited it. I rewrote a lot of it. I ended up writing like a total of like just under 500 words yesterday, but I did like delete a lot of stuff from the beginning of that chapter. So far, there's only been, I think, 2 chapters in the past timeline. I've mentioned before that I don't really know how I feel about including those chapters in the past timeline. I don't know if it's necessary to have entire chapters in the past timeline or if there's an alternative way that I could incorporate those scenes and the information that needs to get revealed about the past, if there's a different way for me to do that. The way it's been going so far is that every time I have to sit down and write in the past timeline, I feel a sense of like, I don't want to do this right now. Like, I don't want to interrupt the present timeline that I have going on because it is so clearly the dominant storyline. I feel like, as opposed to being dual timelines, it's more just like flashbacks. And I don't really know the technical differences between the two. Initially, before I started actually drafting this project, I thought that it was going to be an entirely dual timeline story. I thought that we were going to have an equal amount of scenes in the past timeline and an equal amount in the present timeline. That was mostly because I thought that I'm going to call her the secondary character of the story. I thought that her and our protagonist knew each other in the past. I thought their dynamic was going to be more of like, oh, we knew each other 10 years ago, and then now we're rekindling again in the present timeline, and all these things have changed over the last 10 years. And then I decided that I felt like I was kind of trying to force something that didn't fit. And I realized that it just made a lot more sense for the two characters to meet for the first time in the present timeline. I think even though I decided to sort of ditch the whole dual timelines situation, I still had these ideas for things that happened in the past. So that's why I'm still incorporating those scenes that are in the past when our protagonist is a young teenager. I think the scenes are really important. I think they show her character development, and this one particular character who is only present in the past timeline, I think also shows a lot about our protagonist. She's kind of a mentor figure to my main character, and so I think it has been interesting to see how certain lessons that she sort of learned from this mentor figure have carried through into the present timeline, and it's very clear how much she was influenced by the conversations that she had with this other character. All of that being said, I think I'm going to try to sit down now and get to writing that chapter that's set in the past timeline. As you might be able to tell, I am now in the process of getting ready to go out, but I wrote for probably about 1 hour. I wrote just over 1,000 words. I finished what I think is going to be the first scene of the chapter in the past timeline, and then I think there's going to be just one more scene. It's basically just two conversations, so one with our main character and one character, and then the second scene will be her talking about what just happened with her mom. As I believe I mentioned in this chapter, something is getting revealed about the past and about the history of the hotel. I think that now is the right time to reveal this particular piece of history. I think things just need to get a little bit juicier where we are right now, and I think that this will make things feel a little bit higher stakes. It adds a different layer to the events in the present timeline for sure. I will say that actually getting those words out on the page did feel more challenging. I do think that because I went from writing so consistently and so intensely to then taking another week-long break from not writing anything, it did make writing today feel a little bit like I'm getting just back into the swing of things. I was in such a flow, and then I stopped the flow, and then now I'm trying to get back into the flow. But I don't think I want to write like this. It's like really, I guess when the flow is going good, it means that you're really, really, really immersed in the project and the words are flowing out of you, which is a positive. But I think if I keep doing that and then ending up hitting like a wall and having to take several days off, and then when the thought of sitting down and writing again feels daunting because I feel like because I was writing so much after I took a little break, it became that much more daunting to start writing again because I felt like, oh, if I sit down and write, it needs to be like those other writing sessions. I can't just sit down for 10 minutes and write. I got to sit down for like 2 hours and like get super super immersed in the project. So I'm definitely trying to work things out, figure out what works for me. I will see you whenever I see you next. So, yesterday I opened at work. I did not film anything. I came home. I didn't write anything, but I'm here now. I do have to go to work today as well, which is pretty much going to be the topic of this update, is just about how writing while also working my summer job has been going. But first, I want to let you know that I have already written 1,000 words today. I finished that second scene for the chapter I was working on, so it's basically two 1,000 word ish long scenes that are just conversations. So they're very dialogue heavy. That's why they're pretty short. I don't know exactly how I feel about them, but I really feel like there is a mindset shift happening right now where I'm starting to realize that, and I knew that this was going to happen, but I'm just reaching a point where I want to just prioritize getting the words on the page and getting through the events of the story and get to that finish line instead of focusing as much on like the line level as I have been so far with this draft. It's a fine line that I'm trying to walk between wanting this draft to actually be good and not just be entire slop whatever. In the past, that's kind of how I've operated, was like not reading over any of my past work that I had done on the draft, just focused entirely on getting the words out and just progressing, 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 progressing. And I think that I've really enjoyed taking more time with the first chunk of the story and working on each chapter a little bit more and really making sure that I liked everything that I was doing. But I think now I'm reaching a point where I just want to have this draft finished. And it's not like I'm trying to get it done like in the next month, but I do want to have this draft finished before the year is over. My tentative goal right now is at the end of September, although I definitely can see it trickling into October, November. I don't know what it's going to be like writing when I'm back in school, back in university. So not only is my mindset shifting towards sort of caring a little bit less about how much I like each scene that I'm writing. But also with writing so much this summer, on days like this where I have a tiny bit of time in the morning before I have to leave to go to work and then work like an 8-hour shift, one of the reasons why I decided to actually start working on this draft was because I felt like I needed to do something with my time when I wasn't going to work that was for myself. Because last summer I worked a ton and I had nothing else that I was doing with my time pretty much other than going to work. A lot of my friends were out of town. I wasn't writing anything. I wasn't making YouTube videos. I was doing absolutely nothing other than just going to my job. And so this summer I knew that I wanted things to be different. I work in a customer service role that during the summertime gets a lot busier. It's the same job that I had last summer, but I think that this summer it has been 10 times more mentally draining, at least that I remember it being last summer. And so I think that now that I have writing in the mix, it is a positive that I feel like I am doing something with my time. Even on a day like today when I am working, I'm still writing, I'm still showing up for myself, I'm still doing something with my time that I have. I feel like I've just been spending so much time thinking about how badly I want to get a different job that is actually relevant to my future career goals or relevant to my interests. I think that one of the reasons why I am very happy that I have started writing again this summer is because I feel like every step I am taking is a step away from my current financial job career situation and is taking steps forward towards my dream of becoming a full-time author that is many, many years down the line. But at the very least, I am doing work towards a future goal. But it's hard when I am spending so much time dreaming and dreaming and dreaming about a different career situation. And then I just have to leave the house and I have to go work an 8-hour shift where I'm standing on my feet the entire time and I'm speaking to people the entire day. And I am just constantly, constantly feeling dehumanized, which is a really dramatic word to use. But I do not remember when I was working in the same role last summer, I do not remember feeling so invisible as a human being. And again, I'm sounding quite dramatic considering this is just like a run of the mill customer service job, but it's been really taking a toll on me and I've been really just trying to unpack exactly why that is. And I think it just comes down to that and sometimes also feeling like I'm putting way too much energy into something that is giving me nothing in return. And so a big focus of mine this summer has been trying to take that energy and channel it towards my creative pursuits and channel it towards work that is for myself. I just feel like the way that I am viewing writing and trying to work it into my daily routine around my other responsibilities, primarily being my job, it's very different than writing ever was for me in the past. I never used to really fantasize about being a published author and like actually comprehending what that would entail, of actually reaching a point where your creative work is enough to fulfill all of your financial needs. That's not to say that I'm trying to write with the goal of becoming like a best-selling author that makes enough money that they can live a lavish lifestyle. But it's more to say that I'm just viewing my time that I spend writing as something that is a lot more valuable and as something that is working towards a longer term goal for many years down the line. Basically, what I'm just trying to say is that I'm so happy that I'm back to writing. I'm so happy that I'm currently working on this project. I'm really glad that I'm documenting my journey here on my channel because I know that what I'm going through right now, all of these realizations that I'm having, I know that I can't possibly be alone in this. I know that what I'm going through right now, specifically with my current job and like fantasizing about one day being able to make a living off of my creative pursuits, I know that that is something that so many other people are going through, and that so many people that are now working as full-time authors once were in a very similar position to me, I'm sure. If you would like to stick around and see where my writing goes in the future, then please subscribe. I also have a plethora of other writing vlogs that I've published in the last few months documenting what my journey has been like writing this book. And as always, thank you so much for watching, and goodbye.